Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles.
I'm Jacob, 32, and I work in cybersecurity, so naturally, I notice patterns. My wife, Alice, is 30, works in marketing for a boutique agency. We've been married for 6 years, together since college. I thought we had a good thing going. Stable, happy, trusting, or at least, I believed we did. Last Tuesday night felt like any other. We were both stretched out on the couch, decompressing after work with some mindless Netflix show. Alice was curled up next to me, scrolling on her phone like she usually does during these background binge nights. Nothing unusual about it. But at one point, I caught the screen out of the corner of my eye. It wasn't Instagram. It wasn't TikTok. I know those layouts by now. This had the telltale signs: cards, swipes, profile pictures. I leaned slightly closer and got a better look. Tinder. I blinked. My brain stalled for half a second. Honey, I asked, keeping my voice neutral, why are you on a dating app? She didn't even look up. Just kept swiping, thumb flicking like she was playing a game she'd mastered. Oh, this, she said casually. My friend Jessie is just getting back into the dating world after her divorce. She's too embarrassed to make her own profile, so I'm helping her see what's out there. You know how awkward she is with guys. I stared at her for a moment. And yeah, on the surface, it made sense. Jessie is painfully shy. Alice has always been the social one in our circle, kind of the self-appointed matchmaker. She's actually introduced 3 couples in our group who are still together. This was in character for her. Still, something didn't sit right. The way she didn't even blink, how comfortable she seemed flipping through strangers. Like it wasn't a favor, more like she had skin in the game. I didn't push, just nodded slowly and turned back to the TV. But the whole thing kept clawing at me. Over the next few days, it got worse. Subtle things. Alice would flip her phone screen down the moment a notification pinged. Or she'd angle it away from me when she was checking in on Jessie's matches. Always the same excuse. Always just helping Jessie. She never hesitated to do it in front of me, like she had nothing to hide, but her body language told a different story. She was guarded. Not guilty. Not exactly. Just careful. By the weekend, I couldn't ignore the feeling anymore. That gut-level unease I usually trust in my job, when something in the code doesn't look right, when a firewall's being prodded just a little too often. I felt it now. But this time it wasn't in a server. It was sitting on the other end of the couch. That Saturday, I had lunch with my sister Evelyn. My sister Evelyn's a divorce lawyer, has been for over a decade. She's sharp, cynical in the way people get when they've seen too much, and not easily rattled. So when we met for lunch that Saturday, I figured bringing up the Tinder thing would be no big deal. Honestly, I expected her to roll her eyes and tell me I was overthinking it. Paranoid. Maybe even a little possessive. But when I casually mentioned that I saw Alice on Tinder, her fork froze halfway to her mouth. She set it down slowly and looked me dead in the eye. Jacob, she said, your wife is definitely cheating on you. I blinked. What? Come on. She said she was helping Jessie, her friend. You know Jessie, she's the one who. I don't care who Jessie is. Evelyn interrupted, her voice flat. That's complete garbage. I've never heard that exact excuse before, but it's one of the worst I've come across. I felt my stomach drop. Nobody helps a friend by actively using a dating app for them, she said, crossing her arms. Maybe you sit together and look at profiles. Maybe you give advice. But creating activity on the app? Swiping? That's not helping. That's using it. I didn't say anything for a moment. I just sat there, my food untouched. Evelyn leaned in, her voice lower now. Trust me, I've handled hundreds of divorce cases. That excuse? It's so bad, it's almost insulting. I nodded slowly, but my mind was already spiraling. I wanted to defend Alice. I wanted Evelyn to be wrong. But deep down, something had already shifted. Just start paying attention, she said. Watch how she uses her phone. How she reacts to notifications. If she's hiding things from you, it won't be just this. People don't cheat in isolation. There's always a trail. That night, I went home and tried to act normal. We ate dinner, watched a show, some forgettable comedy Alice picked out, and she sat next to me, laughing like everything was fine. And I watched her. Closely. She was still helping Jessie. Still scrolling through Tinder like it was her job. But now I noticed things I hadn't let myself see before. Her fingers paused when something pinged on her phone, and she would immediately flip it over, screen down. If I so much as leaned her way, she'd switch apps instantly. She was calm, composed, not flustered. Almost like she wanted me to see her using Tinder, just enough to keep the Jessie story alive, but none of what actually happened on the screen. The most glaring thing? She never mentioned Jessie again. That's what really did it for me. When Alice helped friends with dating in the past, she always had stories. Jessie thinks this guy is cute, but he has kids. Or this one seems nice, but but lives 2 hours away. Little updates, random gossip. She loved playing matchmaker. She thrived on the drama. But this time, nothing. No matches. No funny screenshots. No, you won't believe this guy's bio. Not even a single comment about who Jesse liked or didn't like. Just silence. It hit me in slow waves. The absence of details, the over-explained excuse, the guarded body language, it all painted a picture I didn't want to see. I felt like an idiot. The signs had been there all along, but I kept brushing them off. Because I trusted her. Because she was my wife. Because we'd been together for years and I thought we were solid. But Evelyn had planted a seed of doubt. And now that it was there, I couldn't unsee it. Alice was on a dating app, being secretive and lying about why. The worst part? Everything else felt normal. We still had dinner together. We still watched our shows, talked about work and weekend plans. She still kissed me goodbye every morning and told me she loved me, acting like the perfect wife. While apparently browsing for other men on Tinder, I decided to wait a few more days before doing anything. Maybe, just maybe, I was wrong. Maybe Jesse really did need that much help. Maybe Alice was telling the truth. I clung to that hope even as my gut screamed otherwise. But deep down, I knew Evelyn was right. You don't spend hours on Tinder helping a friend and have absolutely no stories to tell. That silence said everything. The next week was torture. Every time Alice picked up her phone, my stomach clenched. Was she messaging someone? Setting up a date? Every time she said she was staying late at the office, I questioned it. Every time she seemed distant or distracted, I wondered if she was thinking about someone else. Still, I said nothing. I kept my tone light. My smiles convincing. And I planned. If Evelyn was right, I needed proof before I did anything. And if, by some miracle, she was wrong, then at least I'd have peace of mind. Later that week, Evelyn came over for dinner. We do that about once or twice a month, nothing unusual. Alice even made her signature lasagna, like she always does when we have company. The night felt normal. Laughs, small talk, wine. But this time, I had a plan. While Alice was in the kitchen cleaning up, I pulled Evelyn aside into the hallway near the coat closet. I kept my voice low. She's still doing it. The Tinder thing. Every few days, same story about Jesse. Same shady behavior. Evelyn's expression tightened. She leaned in and whispered, "We need proof." She glanced around, then asked, "Do you still have that old iPad? The one you got, like, 2 years ago?" I nodded. "Yeah, it's just sitting on my desk. Barely touched the thing." "You said she uses iCloud, right?" "Yeah, she backs up everything automatically." Evelyn's voice dropped even lower. "If she's signed in on her iCloud, we can sync it. Anything that happens on her phone, texts, photos, maybe even notifications, could mirror to the iPad. Totally legal, by the way. You're married, and it's your home network." I hesitated. I'm in cybersecurity. I hate the idea of surveillance without consent. And now I was considering spying on my own wife. It felt like a betrayal. But then again, wasn't she already betraying me? I looked down at my hands. It feels wrong. Like I'm crossing a line. Evelyn didn't flinch. "Look, Jacob, if she's not doing anything inappropriate, then it'll just show normal phone use. Texts with Jesse, emails, whatever. But if she is cheating, you deserve to know." I didn't respond right away. She placed a hand on my arm. "You can either keep wondering and drive yourself crazy, or you can find out what's really going on. Your call." I looked up at her. She was right. Not knowing. That was what was killing me the most. That night, after Alice had gone to bed, Evelyn stayed behind and helped me set everything up. It wasn't hard. Alice always charged her phone in the kitchen overnight. Same spot, same charger, like clockwork. We used my home Wi-Fi, my network credentials, and the fact that everything under this roof was legally shared between us to get it done. The technical part was easy, especially with my background in cybersecurity. We linked the iPad to the same iCloud account her phone was using. That's all it took. Once the sync was active, anything happening on Alice's phone, texts, app activity, notifications, started showing up on the iPad with about a 30-second delay. It was eerie, watching her digital live stream onto another device. Like some weird out-of-body experience, except it wasn't my body I was watching. It was hers. My wife. The person I'd trusted more than anyone. For the first few days, I didn't look at it much. I kept it tucked away in my office, face down. Part of me still wanted to believe it would show nothing. That I'd open it up and see boring texts with Jesse or office group chats. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted to go back to trusting her. But I couldn't avoid it forever. When I finally gave in and checked the Tinder activity, my heart dropped straight into my stomach. She wasn't just swiping for Jesse. She was active, messaging multiple men, flirty, playful, sometimes even downright explicit. These weren't casual one-liners or jokes. These were conversations. She was engaged, invested, sending emojis I hadn't seen her use in months, saying things that made my skin crawl. And then came the photos. Suggestive ones. Not fully nude, but definitely not the kind of pictures you'd send someone you just met online, especially if you were just helping a friend. It was worse than I imagined. I scrolled through the chat logs and realized some of these conversations dated back months. Months before she ever mentioned Jesse, before I even knew Tinder was still installed on her phone. She had kept this going for a long time. My mind shifted into work mode, damage control. I detached emotionally the way I would for a serious breach or incident. I took screenshots of every conversation, documented everything with timestamps, made notes, built spreadsheets tracking patterns and timelines. Emotionally, I was breaking, but I couldn't afford to be sloppy. Not if this thing was real. The messages were exactly what you'd expect from someone cheating. Constant compliments on how hot she looked, playful teasing, and plans. Real plans. Stuff like, I'd love to take you out sometime, followed by, we just have to be discreet. Or, let's find a way to make this work. Alice wasn't passive in any of it. She was leaning in, flirting back, saying things like, you're bad, and, I wish I could tell you everything, but my situation is complicated. One guy kept pressing her about when they could meet in person, and she'd say things like, soon, I just have to work out the logistics, or, my situation is complicated, but I'm working on it. And I knew exactly what situation she meant. She was married. To me. She wasn't just emotionally cheating. She was planning to physically cheat. Meetings. Logistics. Secret rendezvous. But what hit me the hardest, what truly crushed me, was how much of our life she was pulling into those chats. She used stories from our trips, inside jokes only we shared, even pictures of our house. Our life had become material, props she used to build a fake version of herself to entice strangers. It wasn't just betrayal. It was theft. And then came the pictures. The worst part. She was sending images I recognized, images we had taken in our home. Shots from our bedroom, our bathroom, even our kitchen. Places where we'd laughed, argued, made love, shared meals. Spaces filled with our memories, our life. And now they were being casually offered up to strangers on a dating app. It was like watching her burn down the house while I stood in the living room. I documented everything, but I didn't say a word. I didn't act any differently toward Alice. No cold shoulder. No passive-aggressive comments. I still kissed her goodbye in the mornings. Still asked about her day when she got home. I still acted like the doting, loving husband, while quietly compiling the case file on her betrayal. After about 2 weeks, I had what I considered a complete picture. Multiple men. Dozens of ongoing conversations. Clear intent to meet physically. Patterns of deception about what she was doing on her phone. Every excuse about helping Jesse now sounded like a cruel joke. The hardest part of it all was dinner. Sitting across from her at the table, watching her twirl pasta or cut through a piece of chicken, smiling and telling me about her boss's latest meltdown. While I knew damn well she'd spent her entire lunch break texting a guy named Kenneth about how badly she wanted to see him again. She'd complain about being exhausted, rubbing her temples like the weight of the world was on her shoulders, and I'd bite my tongue instead of pointing out she'd been up past midnight, sending provocative selfies to strangers. But I kept going, kept gathering data. Evelyn made it clear. If this ended up in court, suspicions and gut feelings wouldn't mean a thing. I needed undeniable, overwhelming proof. Something that couldn't be explained away or twisted. Those 2 weeks were the darkest days of my marriage. Not just because of what I was learning, but because I had to live a lie every single day. Pretend to be clueless. Pretend to be happy. Pretend I wasn't watching the life I'd built unravel in real time. The iPad became this haunting little portal into Alice's double life. A side of her that didn't resemble the woman I married at all. But I wasn't ready to confront her yet. Not until I had something definitive. Something explosive. Something that couldn't be minimized or excused. And I got it. 2 days later. Thursday morning. Everything felt routine. Alice was in the bathroom, curling her hair, applying makeup, going through the motions that always took forever. I was in the kitchen, half awake, making coffee like I did every morning. The smell of it usually grounded me. But not that day. Her phone lit up on the counter. A Tinder notification. I almost didn't look. But I couldn't stop myself. The preview was right there on the lock screen, glowing in the morning light. Last night was incredible. When can I see you again? That thing you did with your... The message cut off. But I'd seen enough. This wasn't just flirtation anymore. It wasn't just emotional cheating or dirty texts sent in the shadows. She had gone through with it. She was meeting these men, sleeping with them, then walking back through our front door like nothing had happened. Like nothing at all. Like she hadn't just given someone else what she used to give me. Smiling. Hugging me, telling me she loved me, acting like nothing happened. I grabbed my phone and snapped a picture of the Tinder notification before it disappeared from Alice's lock screen. Just a second too late, and I would have missed it. I added the screenshot to the evidence folder on my device, a folder that, by now, was larger than I was comfortable admitting. It was no longer just a collection of suspicions. It was a full archive of betrayal. My hands were shaking slightly. That bothered me. I thought I'd gotten good at staying numb through all this. Cold. Methodical. But something about seeing that message last night was incredible. It hit different. That wasn't potential. That was confirmation. It was done. It had happened. About 30 seconds later, Alice walked out of the bathroom. Still fresh-faced and glowing from her hour-long beauty routine, she barely glanced at me. Just strolled over, picked up her phone off the counter, not looking at the screen, and leaned in. She kissed me on the cheek. Have a great day at work, love. I love you. The audacity. She had spent the previous night sleeping with another man, some stranger she met on Tinder, and now she was in our kitchen, telling me she loved me, as if she hadn't just burned a hole through our marriage bed. I felt my jaw tighten. My hand curled a little too hard around my coffee mug. I needed to grab her phone, shove that message in her face, scream explain this. I wanted the confrontation. I wanted the moment where she had to admit it. But I didn't, because that would ruin everything I'd been working toward. So I kissed her back, softly, like nothing had changed. I love you, too, I said, voice steady. Drive safe. She smiled, grabbed her bag, and walked out the door. The moment I heard the front door shut, I pulled out my phone and called Evelyn. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, it's physical, I said flatly. It's not just texts anymore. I got a Tinder notification off her phone this morning. It said, last night was incredible. There was a pause. Then Evelyn's voice dropped. Okay, she said. Now we move fast. She didn't need to explain further. This isn't just an emotional affair anymore, she said. It's physical adultery. That changes everything legally. That same day, she connected me with someone, Peterson, a forensic accountant who specialized in divorce cases. Evelyn said he was the best she knew. His job was to trace everything. Our financials, our spending history, hidden expenses, all of it. If there was overlap between Alice's affairs and our joint finances, he'd find it. That's when it hit me, our prenup. When we got married 6 years ago, we'd been young and broke, but both sets of lawyers had pushed hard for a detailed prenuptial agreement. At the time, it felt like pointless legal overkill. We didn't have much to protect. But one clause suddenly stood out in my memory like a blinking warning light. Infidelity, emotional or physical, would void most of Alice's claim to our shared assets. If I could prove she cheated, she'd walk away with almost nothing except her personal belongings. Peterson started his deep dive immediately. He pulled everything: bank statements, credit card activity, investment accounts. Within days, he started piecing together a timeline of spending that lined up disturbingly well with the Tinder activity I'd been tracking. Expensive dinners, places we'd never been to together. Hotel stays on nights she claimed she was working late. Lingerie purchases. Designer outfits I'd never seen her wear at home. The car situation was even worse. Through my job, I had access to vehicle tracking logs, something she probably forgot or never realized. The disrespect was unbelievable. But still, I didn't react. I didn't change my behavior at home. I gave no sign that I knew anything. I just kept documenting and planning, playing the part of the oblivious husband. The hardest part was those next few days, coming home from work, knowing where she'd really been, knowing what she'd been doing, but still having normal conversations with her about her day. Sitting across from her at the dinner table while she lied to my face. Watching her scroll through her phone with that fake tired smile. Hearing her complain about how draining her job was, when I knew exactly why she was tired. One evening, I was folding laundry when she walked in, sat next to me on the bed, and put her hand on my thigh. Her voice was soft, almost flirtatious. You've been distant lately, she said. I thought maybe we could, reconnect tonight. I looked up at her, kept my face neutral, and said, I'm just really tired tonight. Long week. She pouted a little, but didn't push. She didn't know that I saw right through her. She didn't know that in my head, I was already gone. I felt like I was being used as a backup plan while she explored other options. Like I was plan B. Like my life, our home, our marriage, none of it mattered to her anymore. Peterson finished his financial analysis within a week. Every detail, every time correlation between her lies and her actual activities was there, neatly packaged. Evelyn started drafting the preliminary divorce papers. In our state, there's specific legal language that has to be used in adultery-based divorces, and we had more than enough evidence to check every box. Thankfully, the house was protected. My father, who'd been destroyed in his own divorce years ago, Convinced me to set up a family trust before I ever proposed. Alice had no legal claim to it. Not 1 inch of it, regardless of how this played out. That gave me leverage, power. I held the cards, and she didn't even know we were playing a game. Our joint credit cards, investment accounts, even her access to my company's fleet program. All of it could be frozen or rerouted the second I gave the green light. But I couldn't just spring the divorce on her. Not without making sure every legal and financial protection was in place. Every piece of evidence documented, every asset accounted for. It took another week to finalize everything. Peterson handled the money. Evelyn covered the legal end. I focused on logistics, disentangling our lives, silently, without raising a single red flag. I played the role to perfection. By the time I was ready to act, Alice still had no idea what was about to hit her. She was still swiping on Tinder like a teenager, meeting men in secret, thinking she was 10 steps ahead of me, thinking she could live this double life without any consequences. Friday afternoon. Everything was in place. Papers filed. Accounts secured. Evidence organized. Alice got home around 6 p.m. She walked through the door like she had a clean conscience, like she hadn't just come from some guy's downtown apartment. I had the GPS data, down to the block. But she came in smiling, keys jingling, heels clicking on the floor like nothing was wrong. "Hey babe," she called out. Traffic was insane. I think half the city leaves early on Fridays now. I looked up from the couch. Yeah, seems that way. She slipped off her shoes and dropped her purse on the kitchen table. "So," she said casually, opening the fridge. "What should we order for dinner?" The cognitive dissonance was insane. She had just spent the afternoon cheating on me and was now standing in the kitchen, tossing her hair back and asking, "So, are you feeling Thai or pizza tonight?" Her voice was light, casual, like she was living in 2 completely separate realities. One where she played house with me, and the other where she slipped into hotel rooms with someone else. I didn't answer right away. I let her talk, let her ramble on about some drama at her office, how her manager was being a control freak again, how Gina from accounting kept microwaving fish. I nodded, gave the occasional aha while I finished setting up my laptop on the kitchen table. Everything was ready, screenshots, GPS logs, financial documents. Neatly organized, categorized, dated. I turned to her. Calmly, too calmly. "Alice, we need to talk." She paused, the smile still on her face, but it faltered as I handed her the envelope. She opened it, looked at the first page. Her brow furrowed. "What is this?" "Divorce papers," I said. "You have 30 days to move out." Her face drained of color in real time, like watching a photograph fade. "What? Jacob, what are you talking about?" she said, blinking rapidly. "This is crazy. We're fine. We're happy. I know you're cheating on me." And just like that, the performance began. She tilted her head, blinking faster. "What cheating? Jacob, I don't know what you're talking about. Are you okay? Are you having some kind of mental breakdown? This isn't like you. You're scaring me." I didn't speak. I just turned my laptop around and tapped the trackpad. A screenshot filled the screen, her conversation with Kenneth from 3 days ago. Explicit, graphic. Every detail of their plans to meet at the downtown Marriott. Her expression shifted immediately. The softness vanished. What replaced it wasn't fear or regret. It was calculation. Cold and fast. "How did you get this?" Her voice was lower now, almost a growl. "This is illegal. You can't spy on people." "Actually, I can," I said. "It's my house. My Wi-Fi. And you're my wife. Everything I did was legal." Then came the anger. "How dare you accuse me of this? Are you serious right now?" she snapped. "This is insane. You're being paranoid. You're always so controlling. I've never given you a reason not to trust me. You violated my privacy, Jacob," she continued, voice climbing. "This is stalker behavior. You don't do this to someone you love. I can't believe you'd do something like this to me." When that didn't work, the anger softened into something else, something practiced. She looked down, sighed dramatically. "It didn't mean anything," she said. "It was just stupid messages. I never actually met up with anyone. I was just bored, okay? It was harmless flirting. That's all. I swear." I didn't say a word. Just clicked over to another folder. More screenshots. Conversations with dates, times, locations. Hotel photos. Explicit messages about how good the intimacy had been. Talk of the next rendezvous. Her eyes moved across the screen. "Faster now. It's fantasy, Jacob," she said. "People say things online they don't mean. It's like role-playing." That's when I brought out the GPS logs from her company car. Every affair location, timestamped, cross-referenced with her messages. The downtown Marriott where she met Kenneth. The apartment complex where she met a guy named Brad. The hourly motel on the east side where she had met at least 3 different men. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I just turned the laptop screen toward her. Your car was at the Marriott for 2.5 hours last Tuesday, I said. The same day you told me you were working late on the Morrison account. She stared at the screen for a long moment. Her mouth twitched, her fingers clutched the edge of the counter like it might save her from drowning. Then it came. You're a psycho, she snapped. A controlling, paranoid psycho. You ruined everything. I didn't ruin anything, I said, calm as ever. You did. Her voice rose. So I have male friends, and now I'm a villain? This is a setup, Jacob. You set me up. None of this will hold up in court. Wrong again. I reached into the drawer and pulled out a folder. I opened it slowly, deliberately, and slid it across the table to her. Remember this. She hesitated. Her eyes darted over the paper like she was hoping it would dissolve under her stare. That's the prenuptial agreement we signed 6 years ago, I said. The infidelity clause voids your claims to any shared assets. She looked up sharply. Her mouth opened, but I cut her off. Also, I added, flipping to another page, forensic analysis. Every dollar of our shared money that you spent on hotels, gifts, dinners, thousands. Her voice cracked. You talked to a lawyer. Peterson says we have enough to prove adultery in any court in the state. That's when the bargaining started. Okay, she said, her tone flipping like a switch. I'll end it. All of it. No more Kenneth. No more anyone. I'll cut them all off. We can go to therapy. I swear, Jacob, we can fix this. This is a misunderstanding. That's all it is. Please. I said nothing. Jacob, please. She took a step closer. I love you. I've always loved you. Those guys meant nothing to me. It was just attention. Excitement. I was confused. But I know what I want now. I want us. I shook my head slowly. I'm done. Done with the lies. Done with the manipulations. Done pretending this could be saved. She stared at me, eyes wide and frantic. You have 30 days, Alice, I said. Pack your things. Get out. Tears welled up. She dropped to her knees like she thought it would change something. I made mistakes, okay, she cried. But doesn't everyone deserve a second chance? We've been together since college. 6 years of marriage. Doesn't that mean anything to you? I closed the laptop and stood. 6 years of lies, you mean? I said. 6 years of you using our money to fund your affairs. 6 years of you coming home to me after sleeping with other men. She followed me into the living room, still pleading. It wasn't like that, she said. You don't understand what I was going through. The pressure at work. Feeling like we were in a rut. I needed to feel desired again. So, I said, you downloaded Tinder and started cheating. Great problem-solving skills. That's when she turned aggressive. She started saying things like, if I had been a better husband, she wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere. That I had gotten comfortable and stopped trying in the relationship. That the man she saw made her feel things I never did. You want the truth, Jacob? Kenneth is twice the man you are. He knows how to make a woman feel special. When was the last time you surprised me with anything? I just looked at her. Calm. Focused. And you? When was the last time you weren't cheating on me? She had no answer for that. The crying stopped, and she put on this defiant expression I had never seen before. Fine. You want to throw away 6 years over a few meaningless hookups? That's on you. But don't expect me to beg for forgiveness when you're the one who violated my privacy and destroyed our trust. The projection was mind-blowing. She was playing the victim in a situation where she had been systematically lying and cheating for months. I went to the bedroom and started packing some clothes. I wasn't staying in the house while she figured out her next move. Too much drama, too much risk of things turning ugly. Where are you going? She asked when she saw my suitcase. To a hotel, I said flatly. I'll be back when you're gone. You can't just kick me out, Jacob. This is my house, too. Actually, I can, I said. The house is in a trust that was created before our marriage. You have no legal claim to it. My lawyer made sure of that. I left her standing in our kitchen, holding the divorce papers, probably realizing for the first time that I had been planning this for weeks, that every detail had been thought out and executed perfectly. Her phone was already blowing up with notifications. Probably Kenneth, wondering why she seemed upset. Too bad for both of them. Their little arrangement was about to get a lot more complicated. The next morning, I was at the extended stay hotel, trying to get some work done when my phone started blowing up. She had clearly spent the night calling everyone she knew to spin her side of the story. The first call was from her mom around 9 a.m. I'd always gotten along with her. She sounded stressed. Jacob, honey, Alice called us last night crying. She said you filed for divorce out of the blue and kicked her out of the house. What's going on? You two seem so happy. I kept it simple. Mrs. Patterson, Alice has been having affairs for months. I have proof. This isn't a misunderstanding or a rough patch. She's been cheating on me with multiple men. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Finally, she said, oh, Jacob, That can't be true. Alice would never do something like that. She loves you so much. Maybe there was some kind of misunderstanding. The classic parent response. Their precious daughter could do no wrong, so I must be the one who was confused or exaggerating. I have screenshots of her conversations with these men, I said, keeping my voice calm. GPS data showing where she's been. Financial records of the money she spent on hotels. There is no misunderstanding here. Another longer pause. When she finally spoke, her tone was brittle. Well, even if she made a few mistakes, you don't have to be so rash. Marriage is about forgiveness. Can't you at least hear her out? Work through this together. I took a breath, measured. I explained the prenup to her. The legal implications. This isn't just about hurt feelings, Mrs. Patterson. This is about systematic deception. Financial betrayal. She didn't want to hear it. Divorce is just so final, Jacob. You've been together since college. Surely 6 years of marriage is worth more than a few silly messages. Silly messages. That's what she called months of infidelity and thousands of dollars spent cheating on me. I ended the call politely, but firmly. About 2 hours later, her dad called. Mr. Patterson had always been more direct than his wife. I thought maybe he'd be more realistic about the situation. Jacob, I don't know what Alice told you, he started, but Patricia says you think she's been cheating. That doesn't sound like our daughter at all. So, I went through the whole thing again. Calmly, clearly, fact by fact. Mr. Patterson didn't interrupt. He listened. And when I was done, he said, that's a pretty serious thing if it's true. But Jacob, you know how women can be. They get emotional sometimes, make mistakes, doesn't mean you have to destroy your whole life over it. How women can be. As if cheating was just some female quirk I should learn to tolerate. Mr. Patterson, with all due respect, this isn't about emotions. It's about basic honesty and respect in a marriage. Alice violated both. He tried another angle. Look, I get that you're hurt. But divorce is expensive and messy. Why don't you two try therapy first? Work out whatever issues you have. I told him the same thing I told his wife. This wasn't a communication problem or a midlife crisis. It was deliberate, sustained cheating that violated our prenuptial agreement. I paused. And our wedding vows. The papers are already filed. Mr. Patterson, Alice has 30 days to find another place to live. It didn't feel real at first, like I had just handed someone the script to the life I used to have and told them to toss it. But it was real. The attorney's voice was calm and clinical, but the words hit like bricks. 30 days. That was it. The contrast between our families couldn't have been more glaring. My parents called me that afternoon after I texted them about everything. I hadn't planned to say much, just that we were divorcing and it had to do with cheating, but they wanted more. My mom was livid. I never liked that girl, Jacob. She always struck me as too entitled and selfish, she snapped. You deserve so much better than someone who could do this to you. My dad, ever the pragmatic one, kept a level head. You did the right thing documenting everything. Smart to get a lawyer involved early, he said. How can we help? And just like that, I felt it. That line between the people who love you unconditionally and the ones who only love how you make them look. My parents weren't trying to hide this, or sweep it under a rug, or plead with me to reconsider. They just had my back. Meanwhile, Alice's parents were nowhere. Not a call, not a text. I could only imagine the meltdown happening behind closed doors, frantic attempts to control the narrative, to salvage some curated image of their daughter. But me? I wasn't interested in narratives anymore. I was interested in truth. Evelyn was proud of how I handled it all. You stayed professional the whole time, she said over dinner that night. You didn't get emotional. You didn't make threats. You just presented facts and consequences. That's exactly how you deal with cheaters. She wasn't wrong. It hadn't been easy keeping calm when everything inside me screamed for retribution, but it was worth it. That composure gave me power. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. Just so you know, it's not over. Alice is probably going to escalate things now. They don't go quietly. Cheaters always try to twist things, make you the bad guy, play the victim, rewrite history. I nodded. What should I do? Same thing you've been doing. Document everything. Hold your boundaries. And don't fall for the act. She was right. On Tuesday morning, I got a call from the front desk at work. There's a woman down here, says her name is Alice. She's asking to see you. She's upset. I closed my eyes for a second. We're in the middle of a divorce, I said flatly. Please escort her out. And I don't want her on the property again. The guard didn't even flinch. Understood. I didn't go downstairs. I didn't respond to her pleading texts. I didn't rise to the bait. She was escorted out and banned from the building. It felt cold, but it also felt necessary. That night, she tried a new strategy. I opened my email to find a novel-length message, paragraph after paragraph of emotional spin. Attached were screenshots of her conversations with Jesse and Kenneth, The same ones she claimed were harmless. She had clearly cherry-picked the most recent messages and deleted the rest, like I hadn't already backed up everything. I scrolled through her sanitized version. Flirtation edited out. Midnight meetups erased. Convenient timestamps. She really thought I'd fall for that? Too bad for her. I already had the real conversations saved. Her version wasn't even close. But the best part? Wednesday night. Kenneth, the guy she had been talking to for months, the one she said made her feel alive again, the one she'd been texting nonstop now that our marriage was over, finally got a taste of reality. She texted him that she needed a place to stay, that things were official now, that they could finally be together. His response? Radio silence. The guy was just looking for an easy hookup with a married woman, not an actual relationship with responsibilities. As soon as things got complicated, he disappeared. I wasn't surprised. That's how these people always are. Sweet words when they think they're winning, radio silence when reality sets in. Alice showed up at my hotel on Thursday night. I saw her through the window. She looked tired, frazzled, even. But I didn't answer the door. She knocked. Once. Then again. Jacob? Jacob, I know you're in there. Can you please open the door? Her voice cracked, just slightly. I didn't move. Jacob, Kenneth isn't answering my calls. I think there's been a misunderstanding. A pause. Can we just talk? Please? I can explain everything. Explain what exactly? That you lied for months? That you gaslit me while sneaking around with some loser from Tinder? That I wasn't enough? So you had to look elsewhere. But now that he bailed, suddenly I'm worth your time again? She kept knocking. Softly, rhythmically. Then she tried calling. My phone lit up on the nightstand. Her name's still in my contacts. I didn't silence it. Just let it ring. Let her hear it through the door. Let her feel it. After about 20 minutes, she gave up. I watched her walk back to her car. On Friday, she tried something new. A letter. A literal handwritten letter slipped under my hotel door, folded neatly in half. I recognized the stationery. It was the same kind she used when we first started dating. Back when she used to write me little notes to leave in my car or my lunch bag. I picked it up, stared at it for a minute. Then I sat on the bed and read it. She wrote about how sorry she was. About how confused she'd been. She talked about how she wanted to fight for our marriage. About how she missed me. Loved me. But it was too little, too late. You don't suddenly decide you want to fight for your marriage after you've spent months systematically destroying it. You don't get to play the victim when you're the one who lit the match. That same day, my lawyer called with an update. Alice's lawyer finally responded. He said, "And you're not gonna believe this. She's threatening to sue you for emotional distress and invasion of privacy." I actually laughed. I couldn't help it. Evelyn, who was sitting on the other side of the hotel room working on her laptop, looked up and raised an eyebrow. "She's what now?" "Claiming emotional damages," I said, still stunned. "Over the iPad monitoring." Evelyn burst out laughing. "She's grasping at straws, Jacob. Everything you did was completely legal. Married partners have access to shared devices and home networks. Plus, hello, she cheated. Repeatedly. She's hired that guy," I added, naming the attorney. Evelyn snorted. "The ambulance chaser for cheaters? Yeah, figures. He's the one people go to when they're screwed and just trying to make a mess on the way out." She wasn't wrong. Within a week of receiving our response, which included a full breakdown of the monitoring legality, the prenup clause voiding her financial claims due to infidelity, and the synced messages and photos, Alice's side went completely silent. No more threats. No more letters. Her lawyer must have told her what mine told me. When you get caught red-handed and it's all documented, you have no leverage. I was done. Done being manipulated. Done being lied to. Done pretending this could be salvaged. Some relationships aren't meant to be fixed. They're meant to end. The 30-day deadline was up on a Tuesday. Alice had been staying at her parents' house, only coming by the house to pack up when she thought I wasn't there. But what she didn't know, or had probably forgotten, was that I'd installed a security system years ago. Cameras, entry logs, timestamps, all synced to my phone. I'd been watching. And she wasn't just taking her clothes, or her books, or the plants she always cared for. She had been taking things that weren't hers. Kitchen appliances we bought together, pictures from the living room, even some of my old college textbooks. Alice tried to claim all of it as hers. It was like watching a stranger raid my home. So, I had Evelyn draft a letter, clear and professional, detailing what Alice was entitled to take and what she needed to leave behind. It wasn't emotional, it was logistical. Fair but firm. Alice didn't respond in writing. Instead, she showed up unannounced on Sunday night with a full moving truck and her father in tow. I was already at the house, waiting. I had a checklist printed out and everything organized. What belonged to her, what I had owned prior to the marriage, and what was bought with my personal funds. I even had receipts ready. Her father was the first to speak when they walked in. "This is ridiculous, Jacob," he muttered, arms crossed. "She's not trying to steal anything. She just wants her things." "Then she should stick to taking just her things," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Not mine." The movers looked like they wanted to disappear. Alice pointed to items randomly, the Keurig, the stand mixer, even a bookshelf, claiming they were hers. I calmly pulled out receipts or proof that I had bought those items either before the marriage or with my own money. It wasn't about the coffee maker. It was about boundaries, about truth. Her father grew increasingly frustrated. "It's just a coffee maker, Jacob," he said again, his voice rising. "Is it really worth fighting over?" "It's the principle, Mr. Patterson," I replied, locking eyes with him. "She's been lying and stealing for months. I'm not about to let her walk away with my belongings, too." Alice didn't say much. She stayed mostly silent, occasionally barking directions at the movers and shooting me glares every time I pointed out the truth. Her silence said everything. No apology, no remorse, just resentment that I wasn't making it easy for her to rewrite the past. In the end, she left with the bare minimum: her clothes, a few personal effects, and the furniture she had kept from her old apartment that had been sitting in our storage unit for years. That was it. After that, the divorce process moved fast. Our state has a 90-day waiting period, but with all the evidence Evelyn and I had compiled, there was nothing left to fight about. Alice's lawyer must have seen it all, because he advised her to settle, quickly and quietly. The alternative would have been a trial that would drag her name through the mud and cost her thousands more in legal fees. The final agreement was straightforward. Alice kept her personal items. She was responsible for her car payments until she could refinance it in her name. We agreed to cover 6 months of her health insurance through Cobra, mostly to avoid another fight. The forensic accountant Evelyn recommended had done a thorough job. He estimated that Alice had spent around $5,000 of our shared money on her affairs. Fancy dinners, hotel rooms, new clothes, even a weekend getaway to Nashville with Kenneth, the same weekend she'd told me she was at a work conference. Every lie had a price tag. All of it was documented, and every dollar was deducted from any potential financial settlement. In reality, when everything was calculated, she actually owed me money, but I didn't pursue it. I just wanted her gone. I remember sitting with Evelyn after the final numbers came in. "She technically owes you around $3,000, Evelyn said, flipping through the spreadsheet. I sighed. "Let her keep it. Consider it a fee for her exit from my life." Evelyn gave me a look. "You're sure?" "Positive. I've spent enough energy on her. I'm not spending one more minute chasing what she should have respected in the first place." Alice, for her part, didn't exactly bounce back gracefully. She tried to find comfort with some of the other guys she'd met on Tinder. But apparently, word had gotten around. No one wanted to be the rebound for a woman who had just blown up her marriage over a few hookups and a weekend getaway with Kenneth disguised as a work conference. She started gaining a bit of a reputation: messy, unstable, not someone worth the drama. I heard some of it through mutual acquaintances. I didn't go looking for updates, but you know how stories find their way back to you. About 6 months after the divorce was finalized, someone mentioned she was living with a new guy she met online. That lasted maybe 3 months. He kicked her out for being too needy and dramatic. From what I heard, she was already talking about moving in together after just a few weeks, trying to lock it down fast, pushing him to get serious when they barely knew each other. Meanwhile, my life improved immediately after she left. The house felt peaceful again. No constant phone notifications lighting up the room at odd hours. No more her slipping off to the bathroom with her phone and locking the door for 20 minutes. No more cryptic texts or fake work dinners. I could sit in my own home and actually relax. I didn't have to second-guess what she was doing every time she smiled at her screen or stepped outside to take a call. 8 months after the divorce, I started dating again. Nothing serious at first, just dipping my toe back in. Some dinners, a few walks, good conversations. I wasn't in a rush. But the contrast was incredible. I met women who were actually honest, who didn't feel the need to hide things or play games. No lies. No side flings. Just decent, genuine human beings who knew how to talk and didn't feel the need to keep their phones face down all the time. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.